You're watching Good Morning Britain. Now, after 15 years as the UK's chief scout adventurer, Bear Grylls has said his farewell dib, dib, dib. What's the response to that?
Dob, dob, dob.
Oh, okay. He's learning. He's learning. The movement now makes way for his successor.
Yes, Dwayne Fields is a seasoned explorer, adventurer and long-time ambassador for the organisation. And let's just say he's certainly earned all of his badges. Dwayne joins us now in just a moment. First, here's Lee Comley with more of his incredible story. Have a watch.
The motto of the Scout movement is be prepared, and that's something Dwayne Fields has learned through experience. As a teenager, he watched his friends fall into a life of crime, but it was his own brush with death that was the turning point. Aged 21, he was confronted by a man with a loaded gun who pulled the trigger. It jammed twice. Dwayne then resolved to distance himself by joining a Three Peaks challenge and the start of a new life. He's now the first black British man to reach the North Pole and has explored all corners of the globe, navigating deserts, jungles and the Antarctic. As the new Chief Scout, he'll lead 500,000 young people and adult volunteers, the leader of a movement which started in the early 1900s and has shaped the lives of boys and girls for the better all over the world. As the modern-day leader, Dwayne aims to inspire new scouts and volunteers, improve diversity and open a world of exploration for a new generation.
So exciting to now chat to the new Chief Scout, Dwayne Fields. I feel like we should give you some sort of salute. I don't know, but welcome to the show anyway. When did you hear about this? How do you feel about being the Chief Scout?
Well, first of all, you don't need to salute me. Thank you so much. I first heard about this earlier this year. I think it was around January when discussion started. I feel nothing but a sense of honour. Scouts has done so much for me, and I just want to use this opportunity to give back as much as possible.
Now, part of the reason you became an adventurer was one of your heroes, who I have to say I knew little about, Matthew Henson. I hope you just tell us something about him. What I wonder is, as people, young people, look up to you, why is it important for people like you to be role models within our community?
Look, I'm very fortunate that I discovered Scouts quite early on. I was 7 years old when I walked through the Scout hut in North London. I was shy, I was anxious. I was so scared, in fact, on that very first day that I hid behind my friend's mum when that volunteer first spoke to me. And I remember walking out of that Scout hut feeling like I was 10 feet tall. And that's because the volunteer leader that was there believed in me and allowed me to believe in myself. Gave me the ability and gave me the opportunity to develop my skills, my confidence, my resilience, all those important skills that Scouting offers young people. Now, you mentioned Matthew Henson. Matthew Henson was a man in 1909, walked to the magnetic North Pole. He was a black man in America at the time. And he managed to overcome all the challenges he faced to go on to do the walk to the North Pole. Now, I'm not Matthew Henson. He was an amazing person. I have some experience within Scouting. For the past 7 years, I've been an ambassador. I've traveled the country far and wide. I've been to local, national and international Scouting events. And I feel like the experience I've gained over those 7 years and in those events and speaking to the young people in Scouts, I can share my story and I have something to offer in terms of the experience of doing all of that.
One of the things that people have often, by the way, Charlotte was a girl guide and a brownie, I assume. Charlotte, I was a brownie girl guide. Laura, my goodness, you don't want to even get her started on the whole movement. She's fabulous. So we're all big fans of the movement, Scouting Guides and Brownies here. Rob will come to in a moment. But there's often a lot of talk about its relevance, isn't there? How is it relevant to youngsters today, particularly some of the more traditional things? And what I think is interesting about your story, that actually it was the sort of traditional things, being outside, learning how to light fires, learning survival, that actually, even though you were a city lad, drew you in and gave you a whole new perspective. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, the great thing about Scouts is it's been around since 1907. The first camp was in 1907, and it's been relevant and growing ever since then. And I think the thing that gives it its most relevance is young people today in general are looking for a place to belong, and Scouting provides that. Our volunteers, all 145,000 plus of them, every single week meet the 500,000 young people in our Scout groups, in our huts, up and down the country, and they give them a place to belong. They give them the opportunity to practice those skills of leadership, teamwork, self-development through challenging yourself, and we use the outdoors as a mechanism for that. We all know once you're outside, if it rains on you all equally, and it's a great way to bring people together in a shared experience. And I think so many young people are looking for a place to belong and are looking for something to do. Look, school is wonderful, it's great, we need it, but Scouts adds that extra a bit of value at the end of the day.
Dwayne, what about giving young people an opportunity to do something else? Your story, which I've read, is nothing short of extraordinary. To say you had a challenging start in life would be an understatement, right? You grew up in the inner city, you were a victim of crime. How does Scouting, or how can it help get young people, young men particularly, but also young women, young girls, off the streets, right, and into a life like yours that's about adventuring and something productive, and as we look at you and listen to you, something that we as a nation can be proud of?
Well, first of all, I want to say we've done some amazing work. At the moment, we've got a third of our membership are young females. The values that Scouts instills in you is what I think is what's going to make the biggest difference. Look, I've been lucky enough to have a life of adventure. I've traveled the world, I've seen some amazing things and met some amazing people along the way. And I think young people need to go out and have their own adventures to learn to value the spaces around us, our natural spaces. And I think that's what Scouts provides. It gives you a place where you can spend time in nature, learn to appreciate it, and hopefully learn to love it and look forward to protecting it.
I've just got to ask you, could you imagine, you were held up at gunpoint, threatened with being stabbed, I think, to say this. Could you imagine that one day you'd be where you're standing now?
I didn't dare imagine it, but all I can say is I'm absolutely honoured, and I'm so proud of the Scout movement. I'm so proud to be able to give back, because my role is a volunteer role. I'm proud to be able to give back. And I want to do a shout out, actually. If there's anyone out there that thinks they've got a few minutes or an hour or they can spare a week, I'd love you to sign up as a volunteer. We've got over 107,000 young people up and down the country, many of them in our major cities, urban areas. The only barrier to them experiencing Scouts and getting the benefits that I received is that we just don't have enough volunteers. We just can't keep up with the demand. Since World War II, we've had the highest number of...
Sorry, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say volunteering is such a great way to experience it if you're a little bit older than joining it for Scout Roots. So it's an important message. I know you're so busy, so we won't keep you much longer, but can you answer some of the Scouting questions that Rob failed so dismally to do earlier on, even though he looks like a cute little Boy Scout, clearly has no survival skills. Very quickly, what is the right way to hold an eel, Dwayne?
The right way to hold an eel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can pass or ask a friend, or go 50-50.
I've got the answer. You gently hold the eel
I'm sure
a few inches below the head and then support it under the main body, apparently.
I've got a more practically useful...
I've learned something today. I normally avoid holding eels if I can.
No one's going to strip away the Chief Scout because you didn't know the answer to that. One more. Do you know how to light a wet match?
Fire. Yes.
Go on then. How do you do it?
Use a storm match, or avoid using a match and use a rod, a flint, a magnesium flint.
Okay, now the answer I've been given is rub them in your hair because that absorbs the moisture, which seems a little harsh on you right now. So I'm glad you've got other options.
I think you're being hard on me.
Oh, look, Dwayne, it's an absolute pleasure.
Don't get
I'm
them
sure
wet
you're
in the
going
first
to
place is
inspire
what we'd say.
Good luck.
So many youngsters as well. Lovely to chat to you.
It makes you think I look like a Boy Scout.
I don't know, there's just
Thank you
something
so
sort
much.
of
Well done, Dwayne. It's a privilege to
glorious
meet.
about you. You just look sort of hopeful and enthusiastic. And anyway, I'm going to move on quickly. Richard.